Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by MailChimp. Manage lists with up to 2,000 subscribers and send 12,000 emails per month for free with MailChimp. And by Sourcebits. Visit www.sourcebits.com to begin your mobile app development journey.
Hey everybody, it's Friday, so it's our news roundtable on This Week in Startups. Liz Gaines is with us from All Things D. Peter Horan, angel investor and advisor. Lon Harris of Ranker will read the news, and Tyler Crowley will drop some amazing insights. All that and more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
An hour and a half a day. Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm Jason Calacanis, your host, and today is Friday. It's time for our news roundtable. Basically, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world of startups. If it's your first time tuning into the program, This Week in Startups, the show is about entrepreneurship and startup companies, specifically in the technology space. Every Tuesday, we do an interview with an amazing entrepreneur, and every Friday, we try to do a news roundtable, and we're joined by amazing folks every week, including Lon Harris of Ranker, who will read our news. Welcome back to the program, Lon.
Thank you, Jason.
And Liz Gaines of All Things D, for my money, the absolutely best, well-written technology blog today, hands down. Liz, welcome to the program.
She's speechless over that intro.
Liz, welcome to the program.
Am I speechless? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Sorry about that.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's such a compliment.
Yeah. It actually is.
It would be great if you could share your video with me.
Okay, yeah, we'll get the kinks out and get the video over there. But it is actually
awesome, thanks.
The most well-written blog today. And interestingly enough, the writers are not paid by venture capitalists at All Things D.
We'll get to that as a topic.
And it works.
It kind of works. It's this whole objectivity thing. If you read it, you don't have to wait for the point in the story where it says Liz Gaines owns 8% of Path and is defending them because she's an investor. And of course, Tyler Crowley is with us, and Peter Horan is here as well.
Liz just broke that Rapportive acquisition story with LinkedIn.
Yes, she did.
What was your source on that, Liz?
My source on that? I had a few. I had to make sure it was all true.
So you did journalism. You did a random act of journalism?
Because that was actually a kind of contentious thing internal amongst the investors on, like,
I was absolutely flabbergasted because...
Actually, why don't we reset for the folks who didn't hear it the first time? What are we talking about?
Wait, hold on a second. Before we start, okay, everybody, time out. We haven't even read any story. Tyler is absolutely screwing up the whole flow of the show. Everybody hold on a second.
Right to the interesting bit.
I understand that. We're going to get back into
This is real startup talk.
Okay, listen, I'm an investor in Rapportive. She broke the story, and then there's a whole bunch of people in between who should have kept their mouths shut.
Yes.
And we're going to get into that.
We need to get into that. That's a real story.
Before we get into that, I want to just say thank you to Sourcebits. Sourcebits is the leader in mobile app software development. They do design-led engineering. They're backed by Sequoia Capital, who are the same folks who backed Mahalo and YouTube, Google, Yahoo, Atari, Steve Jobs, Apple, all that great stuff. And hey, Sourcebits counts Hershey's, GE, and Coca-Cola as their clients. And in fact, they have Fossil as a client. They did their catalog, and boy, is that beautiful. And they do design-led engineering. They do the nightstand app that Tyler is so fond of.
I love that
I'm just flipping
nightstand
through my iPad here for the folks in the control room if they want to pull up my iPad, if possible. Oh yeah, they go, hey, beautiful stuff, right? And these guys are incredibly intelligent. I met them when I was up in San Francisco. And a couple of people in the audience have actually emailed them and are working with them. So I think that's great that the This Week in Startups audience is supporting Sourcebits, which is supporting independent media like this. Go to sourcebits.com. and find out how you can work with them to get your next app out the door. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and read the...
We jump into the Rapportive story?
Let's go right to the Rapportive story.
Oh, is that in here?
Let Lon do his thing.
As an acquisition, but not the whole backstory.
Let him
okay,
do this
good. Let's do it. Go.
I don't know the whole backstory.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
We'll find out shortly.
This is going to get good. Go.
So Rapportive, for those of you maybe not in the loop, a clever browser plugin. It overlays Gmail with contextual information about email contacts. It's won a lot of fans over the past few years. It has now been acquired for LinkedIn, reportedly for a sum in the low teens of millions of dollars in cash. Numerous other companies are thought to have expressed serious interest in Rapportive. They had raised about $1 million back in 2010 from investors including Charles River Ventures, Gary Vaynerchuk, Dave McClure, Shervin Peshawar, are, and of course, our very own Jason Calacanis. They have not publicly disclosed how many people use the service, but in September, the CEO was quoted as saying that Rapportive users viewed more than 65 million contacts in a month. The CEO, Rahul Vora, has assured users that the service will not be shut down and will continue to function even after the acquisition. So I had some questions. Obviously, Tyler had some questions as well. But so any guesses as to what LinkedIn's plans for Rapportive might be?
Well, we left one important key point out, which is Liz broke the story.
Yes.
I know exactly what their plans are, but I can't say.
Right.
What a shame.
Other than they're very cool?
I think that as impressive as what Rapportive has done, what they're planning to do is even more impressive.
I agree.
mean, and that's just, I'm not revealing anything.
No.
And
Yeah, I completely agree.
happen to have seen some of the future, and the future is amazing.
Yes.
So, but Liz, who gave you the story?
Oh,
Who's the rat?
I'm not going to say that. What did they have been doing since, Google introduced something really similar to Rapportive last year? What happened to the company after that, Jason?
They continued to have amazing uptick. The Google features that were released just didn't keep up with what Rapportive was releasing.
I almost felt like it did them a strange favor because Rapportive's offering was so much stronger that it was like...
I mean, the thing that Rapportive was doing that was really interesting is they kept adding services so you could say, oh, I'm going to put this person, I'm going to connect to this person on LinkedIn, I'm going to connect to this person, and I can see the previous emails I've had with them.
There's a valuable lesson
so
in here.
So they kept adding features, and
people
kept talking about it. It was a net promoter score positive
and
app.
they're platform agnostic, which Google is not.
That's correct.
So this is one of those cases where when you're the startup and the investor says, what are you going to do when Google gets in your shorts? And you're going to be like, I don't give enough because Google's never going to put LinkedIn and Facebook and every other thing, Twitter, into their Gmail.
It's basically that they didn't have to carry the baggage of having to shove Google Plus down people's throat and hide Facebook.
Right.
So I'd like to actually kind of take a detour through what Tyler was raising, which is this week in startups. So what do you think the lessons are for entrepreneurs from, this is a successful, started a company, took a moderate amount of money, had a good outcome.
I found Rapportive because I was on Lifehacker, and they had done a little story on it, and I said, oh, I need that. I downloaded it, and then I actually emailed their information account where I found the CEO's email. I said, this is brilliant. Can I talk to you on the phone? I might be interested in investing in it. I talked to them.
No. You said, find out who these guys are.
To you?
Yes.
Well, of course, that's what I mean. So I mean, hey, Tyler, fine.
We saw the thing. It was like, this is freaking awesome. Get these guys on the phone.
Right.
And I was up in the Bay Area at the time. I get on Skype, and I'm like, or whatever I was.
Right, so anyway,
I'm like, hey, Raul, you want to make some money? And he's like, yeah, I think we might want to make some money. I'm like, why don't you come to Silicon Valley? I know some guy, and then roll off right away, wanted in. Everyone wanted in.
So what happened was they came to the Open Angel Forum, and they met Cyan Bannister there, and they met 5 or 6 angel investors. Everybody said this was a no-brainer.
Yep.
I think Shervin as well met him there.
Yep.
And they closed the round immediately. I was lucky enough to invest. And the obvious thing was they made a product that actually was incredibly focused on one thing and one thing only, which was solving the problem of who is this person emailing me? Who are they?
So clear consumer problem.
Right.
Point.
And just executed very well, and they just stayed heads down trying to solve that problem of. And I can't use email without Rapportive at this point. I cannot use it because I have to cut and paste the person's name over into Google, find the LinkedIn, find the thing. And what I just started doing was anybody who emailed me who was a founder or whatever, I would just say, okay, I'll follow them on LinkedIn, I'll add them on Facebook, I'll add them on Twitter. It cost me nothing to do that. And then it just built a deeper relationship. So.
Yeah, you definitely get used to it and then can't imagine.
But I'm a little bit annoyed because I have a feeling, and I don't know if Liz is willing to say this, but I have a feeling that the leak came from within the investor base, not LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, because they didn't tell anybody else.
Well, LinkedIn could have told somebody, so I don't know, Liz. I mean, LinkedIn side or investor side?
I asked everyone.
You asked everyone. And so, listen, the word got out. I'm kind of upset about that, but I think that this is what happens. I mean, one of the things is...
Did it hurt the deal that the word got out?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Ultimately,
I don't think so.
No, but they were concerned that it potentially could. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not talking this case. I'm talking in general.
By an extension of working with me, you can't talk about the inside conversations.
I'm extrapolating to every
insider. Let me, since I'm not an insider,
go ahead.
I will say that some people have tried to negotiate with Google through the press, And Google's policy is, if you leak it, we cut off the deal.
Sure.
We don't talk anymore.
Yeah, and so I know for a fact that this wasn't like, Rapportive, I'm sure, was not trying to leak this. And I can't speak to, I don't think it hurt the deal at all, but I do think that these things can hurt a deal, and it's a publicly traded company. So the thing that sort of upsets me about this, and this has happened now, it happened on the GoWallet deal as well, which I was an investor in. I'm getting kind of upset about it because when you invest in a company, I'm assuming that one of the investors did this. I don't know that is the case, and I know it's the case in the GoWallet situation. If you're an investor in a company, it's a privilege to be an investor in the company. You are part of that company. You have a fiduciary responsibility to that company. You have loyalty. You cannot leak this kind of stuff. And in the case of LinkedIn, I think that it could be particularly problematic as a public company. So I think there's a new breed of angels who maybe are not taking this serious enough. And they need to understand, like, you have to take this very seriously because it's the future of, while this outcome may not impact myself or the other angels in and of itself, it's very important to the founders. And that's why, as a founder,
this happens all the time. It's rare for these stories not to get out. Right. And I think that what you're talking about, though, Jason, it speaks to this trend of like these large angel syndicate rounds, and it's going to happen more because there's more people involved.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, but people who are angel investors have a major agenda with a journalist like yourself. And they might see doing you a favor in giving you information, whether it's about their deal, putting aside the Rapportive deal or the GoWallet deal, but they might like to curry favor with you, correct?
That's true, but I think this happened to you twice recently, so it's fresh on your mind, but it happens all the time. I mean, much larger deals get leaked. The YouTube acquisition by Google, $1.5 billion was leaked.
Yeah, so maybe I'm being a little bit, I don't know, it's a little upsetting to me. But anyway, at the end of the day, I'm absolutely thrilled to have been an investor in the company. I'm absolutely thrilled with the outcome. It's a Class A team, and I love the LinkedIn team, and I think the best is yet to come for both of those parties. And it was a perfect, without getting to the specifics of the acquisition, I think everybody did well. And I think, for me, I'm in the game to see other entrepreneurs do particularly well. And it's not material to me necessarily, but I'm very happy for the team because it was great to see them just in under 24 months go from the Open Angel Forum to a sale. Yeah. Just couldn't be more proud of them.
Yeah.
Is that the new model, though? Is that or one of the new models?
Skip the A round?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, come in, raise $1 million, 24 months, solve a simple problem, great team, quick out.
It seems like there is an opportunity for people to hit singles and doubles consistently in 2-year timeframes, and there seems to be an opportunity to hit grand slams in a 7-year time frame. And it's up to the entrepreneur. In a way, I look at Rapportive as the same thing I went through with Weblogs Inc., which was we sold the business for almost $30 million in 18 months. Like, I had no choice but to sell that business. And I think for some young entrepreneurs, I'm not talking about the Rapportive case, but
you owned you retained a significant portion of Weblogs Inc.
Yes, of course. Right. I mean, the only investor was Mark Cuban, and he had a small percentage.
But that deal wouldn't have worked as well had you raised $7 or $10 million.
No. Nobody, no VC is going to want to double their money. So that's a very big lesson for entrepreneurs.
See, I think that's really the point I want to make to any entrepreneurs in the audience. I always talk about the importance of understanding cap table preferences.
Absolutely.
And how taking...
If you raise at a $15 or $25 million valuation, you're not getting out unless you hit 5-10 times that amount. If you're raising at a smaller valuation, low single digits, then you can get out for 3, 4, 5 times that. And angels have a different perspective than VCs. For angels, I know a lot of us, the way we look at it is we're in it for the excitement of it. And if it winds up being a low multiple, 2 to 10 times, that's fine. And for other VCs, they might say, you know what, I don't care. I want to get 1,000x. Keep building, keep trying to get to the 1,000x. Then it's binary for them. But yeah, these syndicates are going to cause major problems. And if you're taking on journalists as investors, or quasi-journalists as investors,
then it gets even more crazy.
Then it's going to get even worse. I mean, they're going to trade your information instantly. If you've got Crunch Fund as an investor,
right?
Well, I mean, they traffic information.
How does that not get crazy? Yeah. So, question for Liz: do you ever get angels who, in the middle of a potential acquisition, may want to try and up the stakes and say, "Hey, do me a favor and leak this because I'd like to see what else we could get." Like,
would you even know their motivation? Would they approach you in that way?
No, I think if it was so transactional, it would get it wouldn't work. I mean, it's not like I would get the information from one person anyways, though. I mean, I was working on that story for a week or so based on one tip, and there's a lot of people involved in the deal in a company, investors and other potential acquirers who have interest in talking about these things.
Yeah. But leaking is part of the finishing school of deal making.
This is what I'm getting to.
Well,
right?
No. Like,
a VC could try to scuttle a deal by leaking it. Yes.
Right. Yeah, but also
or bring in other potential suitors.
Right. When we were in the last strokes of selling about .com to the New York, we went up to the New York Times. There was 3 companies still in the hunt. Last week,
Google was one of them.
Google was not one, never was.
I read a reason that
Google
Google
on this
tried to buy it.
I think Peter was in
Not
the room
true.
on this one.
As somebody who's in the room, no.
Okay. That's interesting because I just read somewhere that Google was in the running for it, but okay, go ahead.
No,
I thought that was shocking.
No, actually, I can confirm that AOL was the second one.
Certainly, yes.
Because they actually have confirmed it in the press.
Yeah.
But there was a leak. And so I actually suspected that a lady named Beverly Chell, who was the vice chairman of Prime Media, who was one of the consummate deal makers of all time, I thought she'd leaked it. So I went over and said, well, Bev, did you leak this? She goes, no. I said, well, basically, I love you, but why should I trust you?
Right.
She says, well, no, if I had leaked it, the price would have been higher. It would have been like this. He goes,
Right.
It's like, so the way this leak happened, this was a buyer testing how their investor base would react to the deal and the price. And see,
AOL said, "Let me leak it for $400 million and see if people get upset."
Barf all over it. Do they? Yeah.
Well, if only they had done that for Bebo.
No. But that's so. This is part of the kabuki of sort of high stakes deal making. Is leaks are part of it, and they'll slip it out.
And you know what the thing is, as an entrepreneur, it's like your whole goddamn life is in the. I mean, in the case of About.com, it wasn't like an entrepreneur anymore. It had been sold already once.
But it mattered.
Right? And it's just like, I don't know, man. Put it this way, the Weblogs Inc. deal did not leak.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole thing, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Right.
It's
one investor and 2 founders.
Next story.
All right, well, we sort of hinted on this already, so I'll jump in. Dan Lyons, formerly of fake Steve Jobs fame, has been writing a series of columns criticizing the practice of tech bloggers and journalists becoming angel investors in startups or accepting VC money from the same firms that put money into the startups that they cover. He specifically called out Michael Arrington in the past, who left TechCrunch and then formed his own venture capital fund, the Crunch Fund. Now he has turned his attention to former TechCrunch writer Sarah Lacy, who started Pando Daily recently and accepted $2.5 million in investments from notable Silicon Valley angels and VC firms. In the same post, he actually also suggested that Robert Scoble was also moving in the same direction, was looking to raise a fund. Scoble showed up in the comments vehemently, angrily denying that this was true. Arrington has argued that it's just transparency and not objectivity that matters, so he's just informing readers about where he has money invested, and that's enough. His quote was, "What process can get us more quickly to truth than if the people who have a stake in the matter express their opinions, and then everyone else draws conclusions based on those opinions?" Sarah Lacy said very similar stuff, also vowed not to decide what to cover or how to cover it based on her investors. Lyons says that this is not journalism at all, but refers to it as a new form of public relations. So where do you guys come down on this debate? Is it unethical for tech pundits and bloggers to accept money from people they're covering?
Liz, what are your thoughts on all this?
I think it's much, much, much less messy if you cannot be funded by the people you're covering. I think that there's not perfect information out there, so Arrington's argument that the truth comes out through the people and the people who are better able to say it, it just doesn't happen. A lot of those people don't talk, and a lot of those people, even if they have a blog, no one would read it. So we have to create outlets that have reliable, trustworthy information and continue to contribute to them on a daily basis and write stories that people can trust. I don't think that Pando Daily is dead in the water because it accepted money from venture investors, but I think that the fact that they have to make a disclosure on almost every story they write shows that that there's going to be some conflicts there.
Yeah, I'm not going to, anything I read in Pando Daily, I'm going to assume there is a massive conflict because they just took money from way too many people. Way too many.
Well, they took so much money. I mean, do you need $2.5
You don't need $2.5
million to kick off a tech blog?
No, you don't. But listen, if I'm reading All Things D and they're writing about Rupert Murdoch or they're writing about the Wall Street Journal, I actually think, because I know the people writing over there, I actually think they're going to be harder on them, right? Because
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because they're going to be self-conscious about the facts. So, you know, like Kara Swisher has gone out of her way to beat up Rupert Murdoch and the whole sideshow about the phone hacking scandal. Now, When it comes to Arrington and it comes to MG Siegler, I can tell you that these guys are bullies. And what they did to Nick Bilton in the Path story, I mean, they went, and this is Arrington who spent years trying to get Nick Bilton to join TechCrunch. They slammed him and attacked him personally so brutally that it was just straight up bullying on behalf of Path, which is an investor of theirs. Path screwed up, along with the other people in that whole phone address book thing.
Right. Yeah.
But if this is the new trend that other journalists are going to get bullied by Mike and MG, who are great writers in their own right, they know how to use words, and they know how to take over tech meme. And I know this because I crafted the takeover tech meme strategy along with Mike and MG Siegler. We would, back in the day when we were all friendly, Mike, myself, MG would all write articles about the same topic in order to take over the top of tech meme, and we coordinated on weekends. And now you have the same thing happening. Yeah, I would write an opinion piece, and Mike would then reply to it, or Mike would write an opinion piece, and I would reply to it. It was a great strategy. Tech meme is gamed, and it's owned by Arrington and MG and Gabe. They all know how to work it. They understand how the inner workings work.
I'm sure so Gabe knows how to work it.
Clearly. Now, I'm not saying Gabe's in their pocket, but Gabe basically has it's favored towards those kind of folks who can get create the link bait. So what you now have is basically a bully stack. You have a group of people who can bully people. So it's like if any journalist criticizes a crunch fund company, now those journalists are going to get the wrath of MG and Mike. It just seems like a little bit. I think it's going to backfire on Mike, because if I'm Dave Morin and I'm the CEO of Path, I don't really want Mike and MG being my spokespeople, because they're a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Or your attack dogs.
I don't want attack dogs. As an entrepreneur, you don't want attack dogs. I don't want somebody, I mean, it's one thing to send out a supportive tweet or say, listen, hey, I know the guy, it's a good person. That's not what they did. They went out and they tried to discredit Nick Bilton's entire career.
Yeah, well, it's crazy.
I found that incredibly low class on MG's part and incredibly low class on Mike's part. I don't expect high class behavior from those two guys, but that was just, I don't know, Liz, how you felt about their attack on Nick, but it felt very dirty.
Yeah, I feel like, hopefully journalists can fight for ourselves. That is our job, to continue to report the truth. And, maybe there's some more obstacles than they're used to. What actually bothers me a little bit more is MG doing original reporting, things like breaking this Chomp acquisition by Apple yesterday.
Right.
Because that's when you're really getting into trading information for money, because he's paying money, to people in that space. He's making investments in that space. I don't think it's appropriate for him to do reporting or to get pre-briefed on products, things like that. I think it's totally fine if he has a point of view, and he's coming out of a place on TechCrunch where, yes, he can get on tech news, he can get a lot of attention, he can write well. But he's ultimately going to be an opinion columnist, and you can't get angry about everything or people just stop listening to you.
Yeah, I think that MG is basically, I think MG and Mike have basically burnt the audience out. Like, they're angry about everything, and they attack everybody. So I think if the dog keeps barking like that, it doesn't get scary anymore. It's kind of like the annoying dog next door, that like the Chihuahua that just keeps barking, and you're just like, please, can you put your dog away? Like, and I think it's going to work against their fund.
So you're saying it's a self-solving problem?
In a way, but I do think that bullying like that of journalists is where this, I mean, yes, the self-correcting mechanisms. I think Pando Daily is not going to ever be taken seriously. I think they've capped how seriously they can be taken because of all the investors they have. She should have taken, if it was me, I would have just taken $2.5 million from one venture firm that doesn't, do a lot of investments, and then you don't have this problem of, now every time they cover something, it's going to be ridiculous. Like, what if they cover, Airbnb or, whatever, Airbnb buys this company, and their investors are both parties. And they're going to have to be like, Airbnb's, 3 of Airbnb's investors are also investors in, Pando Daily, and this is 3 of these are also. What do you think?
Well, I guess really it's a question. I think you've always had I'll say a journalistic sensibility.
Sure. This isn't a random act of journalism or hosting here.
No. But do you believe that the public shares the same level of concern about conflict of interest?
I think
to back up his point, I wouldn't be surprised if some people see that Pando Daily has some connection to all of this stuff and think to themselves, "Oh, these guys must have a real good, a very naive sense of like, oh, these guys are really connected to all this stuff. So I like this blog."
Well, there's a line where Access makes somebody more interesting, right? They have better sources. And then there's a part where I think it collapses on itself and you don't trust them anymore. And I think what you're seeing is some people are taking this so far that it is collapsing on itself. I think
this is true of a lot of industries, though. The automotive press had this problem.
Sure.
And it's like,
and people didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, but to this day, they count on the car companies giving them early access to the cars. And oh, by the way,
that's a separate issue. I mean, this is really, I have an ownership stake in a company that I'm reporting on, or the people who gave me money, who invested in my company, are also investors in this other company. And that's where I think it starts to break down. I think really the Chomp acquisition by Apple is a perfect example of MG is doing breaking news on this, and he's investing, and he's probably selling companies to Apple. And so I think customers are very smart, and eventually they figure it out. And I think what they figured out is Mike and MG are bullies who are going to beat up on other people for their own purposes to get their investments where they want them to go. And I think what it's going to wind up doing is it's going to turn people off to Pando Daily, to MG, and to Mike. I think people are turned off by that kind of aggressive attacking journalism or whatever it is, that bullying. I think it's just bullying is probably the best word. I think bullying turns people off. A fight people want to see, but then when it turns to bullying, people get a little bit tired of it.
There's also the flip that a lot of the coverage then becomes a little bit toothless because they are going easy on these people. I mean, Pando Daily had some presentation with Dave Moore where Sarah was interviewing him.
Right.
And right in the description, she's like, this isn't going to be an attack, so no, leave your knives at home, and we just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, when you see something like that, it just makes it less interesting. You know that there's no stakes here, and it's going to be a softball.
I don't read Pando Daily. I mean, I just don't. I don't feel like they're going to have great journalism there. And I always read All Things D.
Yeah.
And I always read Right Web as an example. Or I always read the New York Times. I always read the Journal. I just don't consider Pando.
But okay, let's stick with Read Right Web.
I think honestly it's just taking TechCrunch a long time to die. This is like the TechCrunch diaspra dissolving.
Sure.
Yeah. It is exactly right. It's dissolving.
To her point, Jason Kincaid just left today.
Yeah. But so what happens to tech?
This whole mess happened in the fall, and now it's just taking a long time to affect.
For everyone
to figure out what they're going to do.
When we get back from the commercial break, what does Arianna Huffington and Tim Armstrong, what do they do with TechCrunch? When we get back from the break, that's the question I want answered. But before we go to the break here, I just want to say, conflict of interest. I love MailChimp. I am conflicted. All right? I'm just letting people know. I've been using it for years.
Said one thing
I love it, and they're giving me money to sponsor the program and make this. I am in the pocket of MailChimp 100%. I love the product. They sponsor the program, and I am biased towards excellence. And this product has excellence, and it's free. So I am absolutely enamored with the fact that they give their product to 95% of their audience for free. 2,000 subscribers and 12,000 emails per month is free. That means 95%, in my estimation, of the people who use the service use it for free, and they just make money off the top 5% who are made it into tremendous businesses. And they know that it's going to become a tremendous business because their product is so great. And email is the one communication, the one social network that's never going to go away. Email will be here 10 years from now, 20 years from here, 30 years from now. Hey, MySpace, Bebo, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, who knows how much time people are going to spend on each of these platforms. I can guarantee you that I will always be Jason at Calacanis. And other people have emails for life. Generally, people are never going to give up their Gmail address or their AOL address or whatever it is. And so, in summary, MailChimp. It's brilliant. I use it. I love it. I'm biased towards great products.
Yeah, this full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
They're paying
that
for
was an
this
advertisement.
Show.
Full disclosure. I only read ads for people's products I love. Okay, Liz, is TechCrunch absolutely worthless as a brand today?
No, I think it's bigger than ever. It just needs some rescuing. It's like Engadget.
So it needs what? I mean, they're bigger because they have more page views than ever because of the inertia of SEO and that big brands just keep growing on the web.
Yeah. I mean, it's about people. It's about writers. It's about attracting an audience and having credibility again. And they're trying to rebuild, and it probably won't work right away.
And is Eric Schoenfeld going to be successful as editor of TechCrunch living in New York? Or was that like the big mistake that Mike pointed out it was?
Oh, I think Mike is right about that. That's really hard.
Yeah, so basically Mike was right about that. And now every single person who's left. What does this say about Arianna and Tim, in your mind, Liz? That they couldn't keep any of the writers from Engadget. They couldn't keep any of the writers from TechCrunch. All of those brands lost all their writers in the last year.
I don't think it speaks very well of their plans to make those acquisitions work. I guess they didn't acquire Engadget; that was before their time. But they still have the biggest personality that they've acquired of all, which is Ariana.
Yeah, I don't think Ariana acquired TechCrunch, did she? That was a Tim deal before.
It was a Tim deal, but I mean, the point is, every single person who was worth reading on TechCrunch is gone.
Yeah, but that was
actually, Alexia is the only one left.
Yeah,
Alexia?
I thought
Alexia.
Yeah,
Alexia is the only one left.
But I thought AOL buying TechCrunch was a very peculiar type of.
Did they buy Access? Was that the reason?
Jason predicted it would be a really tragic move.
But this is like you invite Charles Manson over for Thanksgiving dinner, ask him to carve the turkey, and you're surprised when there's blood on the walls. You don't put Arrington in polite company.
But if folks remember, and I remember this very vividly, like the day that deal went down, Jason was very vocal about how crazy that was going to get, and the backlash was like, "Oh, you're just talking." Saved myself $10.
Right.
And he's like, "No, watch. This is going to get crazy."
Yeah. And listen. The only partner Mike ever had was myself, and
and the Juju pad.
And the Juju pad, and both of those didn't work out so well.
Turned into lawsuits. But the point is also, you mentioned Engadget. Do you believe that the Engadget writers would still be there today had they not acquired TechCrunch?
No, TechCrunch, Mike Arrington I know for a fact that TechCrunch writers got driven out because when Mike started attacking Josh Topolsky and all those people, Tim Armstrong would not get involved and tell Mike, hey, tone it down, they're a sister publication, didn't take them all to lunch. If I was the CEO, I'm taking everybody to lunch, we're all going to sit down, we're going to go in a room, and nobody's going home until we work this out.
Point the guns out.
So it wasn't just a case of acquiring a company that itself dissolved. It was acquiring a company that...
that caused material damage to the rest of the brand. And I think that Tim Armstrong is not going to last at AOL. I think that
because of that?
I think Ariana survives, Tim leaves. And I think it's because I think people are going to say they're not capable of keeping journalists. I think the whole thing's going to come apart, sadly. It may take another year, but... I
think I think with AOL, there's a much more fundamental issue, which is they've got to figure out how to make money on patch, or Tim will be in trouble because you can't keep losing X million per quarter.
Yeah, patch is never going to work. That's a bad idea. I mean, I've modeled that idea many times.
And you're saying that because you've tried things like that?
No, I mean, Weblogs Inc., there was a point at which the Weblogs Inc. model tapered out and didn't work. It was like somewhere around blog number 70 or 80 in the niche strategy. And if you win Boise, Idaho, and that's, I don't know how many, if you win like Newark, New Jersey as the patch, you've just won yourself like best case scenario of $500,000 in revenue. If you win like this little tiny area in New Jersey, I don't know what, Edison, New Jersey, I'd pick some random community. What's that?
Princeton.
You win Princeton, you may have won $200,000 in advertising. I mean, it doesn't scale. And you're going to need to, in order to win a community like that, you're going to need to spend $500,000 a year. You're going to need 5 people at least to win a community. It just doesn't work. I looked at MetBlogs, I looked at Gothamist. We were going to start this exact model inside of Weblogs Inc. And we bought Blogging New York, Blogging Newark. We bought 3,000 domains around it. Then when I was at AOL, John Miller and I and the team there, Jim Bankoff, we modeled it. And we were going to build Patch before Tim Armstrong was 2 CEOs away. We couldn't figure out how the model worked. It's not going to work.
Actually, so Mary Meeker, I think, has said, SOLO-MO, social, local, mobile.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things people are pointing at is local.
Right.
So, and I've been a lot in
local advertising, local platform, yes. Local journalism, you're paying for it. I mean, people may want that to happen, local journalism. It just may not work for pay.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's a desire, but there's no business model to make it work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's just really hard, and creating it through a network doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a really hard task and then you times it by 1,000, that doesn't make it easier.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's hard enough to make Engadget or All Things D. It's hard enough to make one blog work. It takes 2-3 years of incredibly hard work by a dedicated team of 4 or 5 journalists to make Mashable, Read Write Web, All Things D, Engadget, TechCrunch, Autoblog, Joystick, any of those brands. A core group of people to work really hard and then build off of revenues. Now you're going to do it in 1,000 markets that don't have the advertising base. I mean, everybody's buying an iPhone, so therefore Engadget appeals to the entire world, or everybody aspires to do that. Not everybody aspires to have a hoagie in Newark. Therefore, you've limited the audience to 600 people. I mean, I know Lon and I would love to go get Hogan.
They are delicious.
All right, can we do the next story? We're spending like way too much time on AOL.
Certainly.
Next story.
Google's working on some smart eyeglasses. They're going to be able to stream information directly in front of your eyeballs in real time. The glasses will be available to consumers supposedly by the end of the year. According to Google employees, the glasses will look like Oakley's and may cost around the price of current smartphones, $250 to $600 or so is the estimate. They're not designed to be worn all the time. Instead, would work like a smartphone, so providing information and services as needed with a screen that would work like a see-through computer monitor. They're saying, the glasses will have low-resolution built-in cameras so it can monitor the world in real time, overlay information about locations, surrounding buildings, friends who might be nearby. The glasses will be Android-based, and it's going to have 3G or 4G data connection, and a number of sensors like motion and GPS. So in addition to location info, you could do augmented reality gaming, even facial recognition software when you see somebody, when was the last time I saw this person. All these things are sort of theoretically on the table. So Steve Lee, the creator of the Google mapping software Latitude, is said to be one of the project leads, along with Sergey Brin. So what do you think is the business model here? And is this going to be like a subscription service, or is it just you buy one and it works like a smartphone? And is this a gimmick or an intermediate step, or is this really, this is the future?
Liz? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it's an incredible environment for advertising, so I don't know about why you would need a subscription. I mean, if you're looking at the world overlaid with things, obviously, in your Google, you're going to overlay it with ads. But I think these sound awesome. I mean, I think it sounds even cooler than Android in a way, because it's not, let's do someone else's closed operating system better. It's let's invent a really awesome gadget.
Yeah. It seems to me that this would be absolutely awesome, but I think this becomes Google's Newton, which is to say 5 years too early, and it will not work. But I applaud them, and I believe that this is going to be like the sort of cannonball across the deck of Apple, that we're going to compete with you heads up on hardware. And we bought Motorola, and we didn't buy Motorola for the patents to sell the hardware business off. We bought it for their hardware experience, and we are going to be a soup to nuts ecosystem company. And Sergey Brin is absolutely not interested in search anymore. He's interested in changing the world with self-driving cars and glasses.
Magic
these guys
glasses
do not care about the business that they've been in for the last 10 years. They want to just build something just groundbreaking. I mean, these are billionaires who are super smart and have unlimited resources. They really are playing for like Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla status. That's what Sergey and Larry care about. They care about their legacy. They want to be considered like Steve Jobs, Nikola Tesla, or Elon Musk. They want to. Their egos are driven by building world-changing products, and they want the last 40 years of their lives, or 400 if they live forever, whatever the sort of singularity provides. I mean, that's why they're backing Singularity. I think that it's too soon, but I think this is just the beginning. Self-driving cars, high-speed trains, television service, free fiber to your home, and Google hotels, Google buying the New York Times or HBO. I mean, everything's on the table now. That's what it tells me.
What about the safety issue? We already have people who are texting and then falling into
That's why you have a safe.
This is safer.
But that's why you have a self-driving car.
Text message comes over here. Well, that's not going to cause a problem.
It's only dangerous if you're driving one of those outdated the cars that you have to drive.
What do you think? What's going on here? Is this just?
I think so. I think the core idea is the scope of Google's ambition.
Right.
I mean, so a company that says we're going to organize the world's information doesn't lack for self-confidence.
Right.
And I think, to your point, they need a new platform. And if you actually go back and say, first microprocessors, nobody knew what they were good for.
Right.
It was, it was like, well, let's build this, and then somebody will write an app, and we'll say, oh, gee, this microprocessor wasn't good enough. And you start this sort of virtuous circle of hardware, software. And so, this could be their iPod, right? Because, when Jobs put out the iPod or the iPad, remember, all the press leading up to the iPad was nobody wants a tablet.
Right.
It's like, well, what's it good for? Then suddenly, there's millions of them.
Right.
So I think it's that type of, they need to have these big bets.
In the short term? I think short-term success?
I think, no, not short term. I think this, everybody wants to paint Newton as a failure. I look at it as sort of a prototype for everything that came after. It's a necessary next step.
Right. So this is more Newton-like in your mind. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler?
It has a feel of those 1920s black and white. In the future, Sally's going to be cleaning her kitchen with
I think this is Sergey
with a
Brin
robot.
at Burning Man watching some World's Fair video.
Good for them. I mean, very future.
World Fair from the 70s.
Those guys lack no sense of
ambition and time.
No, just in terms of their vision of the future. It's inevitable that this is going to happen, and I think it's smart that they beat Apple to the punch, because when Google came out with the whole self-driving car brouhaha, people are like, oh man, that Google company's really something, huh? Self-driving cars, future, yada yada yada. Why not break more kind of stories like that? Because it makes Google look awesome, like they're the future of where it's at.
If they blow $1 billion on this and it hires the next 1,000 engineers away from Apple, success.
Yes.
Well, like the promise of
no one else is doing anything like this.
Right. So the promise of this might bring literally the next 1,000 engineers on a global basis.
Here's also
to Google
how I think this plays out.
That I might get to the Google X laboratory someday if I level up enough.
Also, how I think it will play out is it'll be given to exclusive people who will be wearing them, and because you're the only one who has, and this is like the Apple iPhone effect if you get them really early or whatever. And you're walking around with them, and people, and you're in the technorati guys are like, what do you think of that? Of course, the guy's going to be like, they're amazing, because you don't have it and I do. It's incredible. You're going to lose your mind when you have it, and it's going to build up this pent up demand, and it'll roll downhill from there.
Yeah. But by the way, there's a suggestion for entrepreneurs in the audience. There's a key takeaway here, which is the best people want to go slay dragons. It's like if you said, why is somebody excited about going to Google? You're right. They'll go there because this is a company that will try a moonshot.
Yep.
And it may not work.
Quite literally. They're backing the Lunar X Prize next spring.
In a letter, we'll stay on Google. In a letter to Google CEO Larry Page, dozens of state attorneys general expressed strong concerns about the company's new privacy policies, which are set to kick in on March 1st. The letter insists that Google's plan to share consumer data across its various services doesn't give people the proper ability to opt out, and that it may not be clear to Google's users that their search history, Gmail history, even YouTube preferences will all be provided to networks hoping to place more targeted ads. Google has defended its plan, it's saying users have been extensively notified about the changes and that they will be provided with opportunities to sort of customize it how they want it. And for example, users can still watch videos anonymously, or they can switch their professional emails from Gmail to another service. The state attorneys general questioned the options offered to users and pointed out the costs of switching. If you use Google Docs for your whole company, this is an enormous changeover to have to make just because of a new privacy policy. They've requested a meeting with Page to discuss their concerns and have asked for a reply no later than February 28th. So most Google users probably already had some expectation that data was being shared, but what about businesses and government offices? Do you think that they've been adequately prepared for this? And is this really a legitimate concern that the government should be involved in, or is this Google and its users should figure it out?
Users certainly have the ability. I mean, the Esther Dyson position is if you don't like it, use another service. However, it is going to be impossible to exist in society without using these major services. And so there has to be some ground rules. And I don't understand why, just like there's that opt-out list for phone numbers, right, the do not call list, there needs to be a do not track list, and it needs to be an industry-wide thing where I can just set in my browser one time, or with my login, when I log into Google services, I say, do not track. And they say,
that just happened this week.
Yeah, this is also in the news.
Yeah.
Right, but what are the specifics of it, I guess, is always the case, right? And it seems like the do not track thing is, they have incognito mode, but it turns out incognito mode doesn't do anything because it's still tracking your IP address and all this stuff. There needs to be like a really industry standard do not track mode that's not driven by the companies, but it's driven by like a government mandate, just like there's HIPAA regulation.
Or a trade organization.
Industry, or a trade organization. But we know what? Our industry has behaved so poorly that what I feel like is happening is it's going to be taken out of our hands. And when I wrote my editorials about Facebook, what I always said was, don't piss in the well because everybody's got to drink from it. Yeah. And now what's happening is Google is getting so aggressive to keep up with Facebook's advertising offering that everybody is going over the line. And the only company that seems to have any ethics or morality about this is Apple. They seem to be the only company, I guess because they don't have an advertising business, that feels like we don't need to absolutely break the rules and confuse the customers. And
but let's not forget that last week or 2 weeks ago, Apple was discovered that they weren't enforcing their contacts, mobile contacts policies.
Right, but they quickly changed that, and I don't think that was malice. That was that was just a mistake. They weren't
I
saying.
think that it happened. I think everyone makes mistakes, and I don't think that Google combining their privacy policies is inherently bad at all. I think a lot of users maybe expected that was already the case.
Right.
I think it's just opening up more opportunities for information to flow where it shouldn't, and Google will mess up, and people will get pissed about it.
But I will say, Google deserves at least a modicum of credit because they have been really aggressive. If you got a pulse, you see all sorts of we're changing our privacy policy. This is really important stuff. Please read this.
Yeah, they have been insane. And then but then as a consumer, you're just like, oh, but clicking that means I have to read like 10 pages. So much work. Right?
Understood.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is that they have made what I think is a pretty good faith effort to make it clear.
They've done 1,000 times what Zuckerberg has done.
Yeah.
It took Zuckerberg doing a 20-year, the settlement I think with Facebook and the government was 20 years of auditing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it took a 20-year audit settlement for Zuckerberg to behave properly. Mm-hmm. And I think he was probably scared that this is going to seriously impact the IPO and all that kind of stuff. It took him taking it right to the brink. Yep. And I think so, yeah, right. I think Google does have some good intentions here, but I feel like there's a huge software opportunity for somebody to create a service. It may not be in the next 5 years, but the 5 years after that and I wanted to actually fund this or build it. I want a service where I turn on my computer and my browser pops up, and it's a browser by this independent company, privacy.com, and every single piece of data I do goes through their private VPN, Tor network. Nobody can ever know what it is. It gets scrubbed, right? So it's their IP addresses pulling down my data, and they provide a totally double secure system for email, documents, et cetera, and it has absolutely nothing to do with advertising or marketers.
Well, that could be, by the way, Mozilla's reason to exist going forward as an independent .org.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Because I mean, they are .org, community supported.
Right.
Did you see what they're doing? They're announcing next week at Mobile World Congress partners to do a mobile app store and really do an OS.
Yeah. The world is going to need some place for people to go to have their privacy protected. Because it's only a matter of time. I mean, you look at Facebook and Google. They've both had employees fired numerous times, I believe. And I know it's numerous times between the two of them for stalking people, stalking women, looking at photos. I mean, there's some contingent of developers. It might only be 0.1%, but in my experience, it's about 17% who are going to peek behind the curtain and look at people's data.
Sure.
That's happening all over the place. And you can be absolutely certain that, maybe not in the case of Path, but in one of these companies when phone books were uploaded, you can be certain they're like, oh, there's a celebrity on the system. Let's look at Ashton Kutcher's phone book. I guarantee you 10 developers at companies have looked at Ashton Kutcher's phone book just to see everybody's phone number in there.
Did you see
Yeah, but what's really worse is someone who actually wants to do something with it.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, this woman was getting stalked by a Google engineer at some point. I don't have it at my fingertips, but people can Google it. But I mean, if your data is stored somewhere, it will be compromised. And so then the question becomes, as a society, what do we feel is an appropriate amount of data to be stored about any one person and in what way? And I think that
Google
search
is a data
history
company.
should be off the table. You should not be allowed to keep people's search history unless they opt in, and it should be limited to X period of time.
Even for law enforcement.
Even for law enforcement. I believe it's sort of like, I mean, maybe I'm too French for this, or socialist, or whatever, or libertarian, but I just feel like if this information is there, the government has it.
Actually, the Supreme Court decision a couple of weeks ago was interesting, which was the GPS data decision.
Right.
That basically constituted a search and was subject to the Fourth Amendment.
Right.
Which is sort of a step towards...
Right, because in this case, correct me if I'm wrong, I've only read about it in a cursory fashion, but law enforcement could get the GPS data of your phone without a warrant.
Right.
And even if it was turned off, that's the amazing.
That is mind-blowing. I mean, what is happening in the United States that all these things and these companies are so, I mean, they're so hypocritical. You run by all these people who believe they're libertarians, they believe they're, all these higher order thinking beings, and then they're just selling everybody out to the government constantly, and they're keeping this data. Can't you make this business work? I mean, when is enough? It's sort of like with Apple, with the profitability of their phones and the supply chain and people working in it. I mean, at a certain point, people have to look in the mirror and say, we're making enough money hand over fist that we don't need to make this extra 1% to put people's privacy at risk.
But this is the dark side of Ayn Rand.
Before you get into that, but that's the cost of building a business around data and not selling something. a product.
Of course, right. And people have to decide if they want to pay. Maybe the solution is.
But I wanted to hear what Peter had to say.
Well, okay, but maybe the solution is people have to pay for their privacy. So every time you come to a service,
that's
it's
the
like,
new model, right?
Pay $5 and you're opted out of everything.
Right.
And people can make a decision. Is it worth $60 a year or not? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Dark Side of Ayn Rand. So the Bible of the Valley is often the fountain.
Terrible writer.
No, but people.
Good ideas, terrible writer.
But people believe in Ayn Rand. They believe that greed is good, selfishness is good, and if it's not explicitly illegal, it's okay. And they're not even immoral. A lot of them are amoral. They don't consider consequences. It's just, hey, if the government doesn't lock me down. But
if I can I think it's even a little bit more based than that. I believe that a lot of people in the industry think if I'm technically able to achieve it, therefore it's legal.
Yeah.
And it's almost like
that's what I said, amoral. It's like there's no judgment.
Like I can technically upload the address book, and I can technically match when you upload your address book, and then connect you guys. So I'm technically able to do that. Therefore, I'm clever. Therefore, it's okay.
Yeah, there is a lot of that feeling of like learning that much about programming and developing gives you the right to use your knowledge in ways that most people would find objectionable.
Right.
I definitely
That's
think
the whole.
Or I think it's just like the mindset. If it's more black and white of a mindset because you see that it's technically feasible, like Jason was saying.
Yeah.
To bring it full circle, though, this was about the Google privacy changes things. Did you see the Microsoft video that they made about Google
Oh, that
Docs
was just
the
Google Docs guy coming in. He's like, I'm moonlighting. Yeah, pull that up on Tyler's thing. This is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. Here you go.
Oh my God.
He's top of his game in search online. Now he's looking to moonlight for you in his downtown.
The moonlighting theme song. Huh?
It is, exactly. Google.
Hello, Guggen Apperson. I'm here for my 4:30.
It's 5:30.
Well, you should be ready for me then.
Sit down, Mr. Apperson.
Please, my mom calls me that.
So you have 12 years experience in ad sales. Why do you want to work for us?
I've been developing cloud collaboration and productivity software, and I'd like you to implement that across your entire company.
Wait, you want us to be your lab rats?
Pioneers.
My employees live on Excel and PowerPoint. Does it work like those?
Potentially.
Does it have active spell check?
Sometimes.
Pivot charts?
Not sure what that is.
What if my employees need to make revisions while they're on the road?
Don't worry about it. You ask so many questions.
Can they do that?
If they have internet, yeah.
If they have internet. And you still think this is ready to roll out?
How else are we going to know what features to keep and what to kill?
Okay, hold on. So you're going to change your software while we're using it?
Absolutely.
Wait, but I could come to work and the software could be different from the day before.
Different, better, completely gone. Who knows what the future holds for Google Apps?
So genius. You can change it. Okay. I think it's genius on Microsoft's part. I mean, they make a lot of good points in there. Yeah.
And by the way, I got a Google Netbook, the Droid one, and
it's terrible. It's a brick.
It's hard to. No, it's not quite a brick.
Doorstop.
But it's hard to. It's like, it's only good for basically checking email, and that's it. Yeah. It's not even a good netbook.
Yeah. Anyway, good on Microsoft for doing something clever. I mean, yeah, whatever. Let's do the next story.
But Microsoft is in a position to like kind of stick it to. As big as Microsoft is, it's amazing that they have not had dropped the ball to the degree that so many other companies much smaller than them have. Yeah. Privacy-wise.
It just shows you what scale can do for a business. When you hit scale, it's very hard to lose it. I mean, Yahoo is still a publicly traded company with billions of dollars in revenue, and they have done everything wrong for 12 years, 15 years.
I just mean privacy-wise, Microsoft seems to have their game together. So.
All right, next story.
So image and video hosting site Flickr planning a significant overhaul. It will include an image-centric makeover of the homepage. Sources say the new Flickr homepage will look more like the slick images-only homepages of Pinterest or photo-sharing app Pixable. They're also bringing it more in line with Yahoo's mobile-first strategy, refocusing all the company's properties on appealing to users, quickly visiting on their phone rather than web users. Contacts pages are also going to get a redo. So do you think this is going to have a big impact on user perception of Flickr?
Well, I mean, they're going to update Flickr. If they're going to update Flickr every 7 years, I think they got a good chance of catching up.
Yeah.
I mean, really, this is literally the first time they're updating it in 7 years. I mean, it has not largely changed. I think the permalink page of Flickr has not changed largely in 7 years.
Flickr feels, about the same to me as it always
I haven't logged into Flickr. I mean, the only time I go to Flickr is to find Creative Commons images.
Right, that's what I was about to say.
Literally the only
I'm always
function.
on there looking for Creative Commons.
At some point, they added the feature where you can click the arrow to go to the next photo. That was awesome.
That was big. That was big in 2008.
They still haven't gotten.
I remember during the financial crisis, the Dow lost $1,200 and 1,200 points in one day, and Flickr added the arrow.
The
It was a very memorable day.
They still have that if you want to get to the page which has the photo in all the different sizes, like 3 clicks.
But then
to get to that
getting back to scale.
Right.
It still has not gone away. It probably has grown, in fact. Yeah. So if you hit scale, if you hit a couple of million people, it's almost impossible to kill a web service.
Yeah. I'm a long-term Flickr user. I pay them money. But I think this is a different point, though. So Flickr is, I'll say, a Web 1.0 artifact. It's built around web service.
No, it's a Web 2.0 artifact now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. We're in Web 3, Peter.
Okay. But it was really designed for people who picked photos with a camera
and
uploaded them and shared them. The turn of the wheel they got to catch is mobile picture taken with a cell phone.
Is there even a Flickr iPhone app?
Yes.
There is. And actually, an interesting point, the most popular cameras in the Flickr community are in order: iPhone 4, iPhone 4S, iPhone 3G, iPhone 3G.
But wait, why does there, I mean, that's fantastic that they're going to actually give a refresh to the site. Do they have an app with filters in it? Can you put 25?
They don't have an Instagram.
All right.
Flickr
So
app,
if somebody is listening at Flickr, or I'm sorry, at Yahoo, kill yourself. Literally, like how fracking stupid are these people? Like,
how flicking stupid?
Here, this is it. If I'm the chairperson of Yahoo, I'm hiring the Samwar brothers, the thieving, conniving, horrible people in Germany who should kill themselves also. And I'm just going to hire them to run Yahoo and steal any innovation and put it into Yahoo products. Yahoo would be worth.
That's brilliant, Jason.
Is it a pretty good idea, right? Yeah. I mean, like if I'm on the board, I should be getting a raise. This is unbelievable. Just hire the Samwar brothers. They would have copied Groupon. They would have copied Pinterest, and they would have copied Instagram.
And fast.
And fast. They would have done it in a heartbeat. Literally, how stupid, how absolutely inept is Yahoo? If they have Flickr and they don't have the ability to put 2 developers, 2, on adding filters to their apps.
Or you look at Yahoo and you say, there's a commendable company who, with all this amazing innovation going on, is not infringing on that intellectual property.
Yeah, wow. No, I mean, there's one thing to, what the Samwar brothers do in photocopying Pinterest is abhorrent. They don't add anything new to it, and they're just bad people, like the worst people on the planet. Like they're just horrible people. Like, when you empty a dumpster of the garbage that's in it, and there's like some garbage left, and it's like the muddy, watery, that water at the bottom of a garbage dumper?
I do.
That's what Samwar actually means. Samwar is the water at the garbage, the garbage juice.
In German, is that?
Yeah, that's what it means in German. It means garbage juice at the bottom of a dumpster. But
also Santorum.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into what that means. The point is, Samwar is garbage juice, but you can incorporate features, and evolve a product and have some originality. But I mean, God Almighty, how incompetent are they? It's truly incompetence.
I like them because every company out there has to look over their shoulder what Google's doing, but they don't got to worry about Yahoo.
Yeah, exactly. Is the new person? I don't know this new person, but I think he ran PayPal, and I don't know how PayPal's track record over the last couple of years, but I don't think it's been fantastic. Is this new person, Liz, capable of doing anything?
The CEO of Yahoo?
The new CEO. I don't know his name. I can't remember it.
He's got a Flickr update.
I think that was
Scott Thompson.
Scott Thompson. Yeah. Is this person in any way qualified to do anything positive at Yahoo?
Yes, because he has the job, so people will listen to him.
Okay. In your mind, Liz,
I can't say anything. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a pretty tough situation to get yourself out of.
Right. So, what if you had to guess the over/under for his tenure? How many months is it?
Ooh, not long.
18? 16?
Sure. Under.
Under 18. All right. Liz has under 18. You go 100 on that, Liz? I'll take the over. You want to go 100 on it?
I'm not playing poker with you right now.
Listen, well, you pick the number of months, and then I'll take whichever over or under. I say 18 months. You pick over or under, and it'll be a sushi lunch.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, which one? You're under 18?
Remember, I'm the journalist that doesn't invest in startups.
Okay, listen. It's just lunch. Okay, it's just lunch. We'll cap the lunch at $100 for two. Okay, so you're saying under 18 months.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm saying over 18 months, and that's a sushi lunch. What do you say? You want to get in?
I'm in. I'll say over because they.
You're
put
taking
up with,
the over?
Well, no, because they put up with Carol Bartz, who is a train
Okay, you
wreck
took
for
the
over
over.
18.
I'll take the under then. Okay, so I got the under.
He's hedging.
I'm hedging. Who else wants action? Who wants action? Tyler?
I wasn't paying attention.
Lon, you want action? You want to go for an iPad, Lon? iPad 3? Over under?
Wait, what do I have to chip in an iPad 3 to you if I?
No. We'll gamble an iPad 3 over under for the months.
I'm going to take over. I think.
Okay, all right. I'll take the under. So I got the under.
I agree.
I got the under for an iPad 3 with Lon. Okay.
There you go.
And then I got the under
for a lunch.
Under for a lunch.
And an over for a lunch.
And an over for the lunch. Okay, so I'm hedged. But you're okay. So the lunch with Liz is capped at 100. Our lunch is capped at 250.
That's quite fine.
A dinner. Like we're going to go for a serious dinner.
He's trying to balance it out with his iPad.
I'm just balancing it out. This is it. I'm a sophisticated gambler. Balancing out at this point. Oh, degeneracy. Next one. I love to gamble.
Staying on Pinterest. They're the hottest.
Somebody's got to clip this video clip of the gambling, and we're going to play it in 18 months from when his tenure started. So his tenure started like 2 months ago. So 16 months on the show, we're going to do this.
Deal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Pinterest, hottest new startup on the web, clearly, but is it an issue that so much of the utility of the service revolves around low-level copyright infringement? The company this week released code allowing content owners to block their sites from being pinned by eager Pinteresters, in addition to complying with all the DMCA procedures and regulations.
Please stop marketing my stuff on your site.
But so, do you think that it's significant that Pinterest is built so heavily around sharing of copywritten material, unlike, say, YouTube, where the presumption is you're uploading a video that you made?
That's later YouTube.
I think it's exactly like YouTube, actually.
Yeah.
I think actually thinking about this thought experiment makes me feel more likely that Google would buy them to save them from their legal troubles when they get huge.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a platform.
Yeah, YouTube 1.0 was all about sharing
practically content.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, just send a DMCA. Send a DMCA if you don't like it.
Well,
I mean, it's the same as WordPress.
The users upload.
Yeah. The users
upload. I do see there's nothing significant about the fact that YouTube, it's built around you're uploading a video that you may have shot yourself, whereas Pinterest, the only interface is like pin
what if I pin something from my blog?
Page.
No. You can totally pin something that you did, your own kitchen that you DIY'd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
but a tremendous amount of Tumblr.
And if you're a journalist, wait a second.
Case.
If I'm a content site and I put the Pinterest button on, and I have a license to AP News, and you pin the AP photo to your
you violated terms of service.
I just violated my AP thing. So I bet you that's occurring right now.
And by the
I
way,
bet you there's content sites that have deals with photography agencies, right? Oh, yeah. They put a Pinterest on, and they're now a contributory infringement. Boom.
Look at Pinterest.
There's a story for you.
You'll see tons of Getty images popping up.
I would say, but time out for a fact. I just went through a deal looking at photography on news sites, and we actually found news companies only estimate they have rights to 2% of the photos on their site. So it says there's 98% of the photos you would be violating terms of service if you put it onto Pinterest.
By the way, I just want to let people know, or maybe people can make a guess here, how much is each user worth on Pinterest in terms of their current valuation?
Do you know?
$10.
Number of users decide.
$30 per unique.
Wow.
Do you know how much money they make off each user?
3.
0.00001 cent a month. They probably make no more than 5 cents a year off of each user. Right? Yeah. If you have 10 million users and you have a $300 million valuation, that's $30 per user. If they're making, how much do you think they're making a month? Let's say they're making $1 million a month. $1 million a month divided by
they could be doing a bit more than that.
But you know what? I mean, I bought so many things because I've seen them on Pinterest.
They're making 10 cents a month per user. They're making $1.20 a year per user.
They're still in growth mode, you know? I learned how to tie my scarf on Pinterest. I bought some new boots on Pinterest. It's a great platform for finding things that you want to spend money on.
But Liz, did you buy the boots on Pinterest, or did you buy them because of Pinterest?
No, it's their affiliate.
Because you see them there, because it's an inspiration and discovery platform.
Yeah, I mean,
But Pinterest doesn't necessarily get a piece of that transaction, though.
Yeah, they do.
Who's the most likely candidate to buy Pinterest in your mind, Peter Horan?
Yahoo.
Tyler.
I think you might be right.
Wrong. Liz.
Google.
Wrong. Lon.
I was going to say Google.
Wrong. Correct answer. Amazon. Next
Yeah.
story.
Oh, I love how we're turning this into the McLaughlin
like
report.
I'm turning it into the McLaughlin.
Number
You
four.
know what? Who also doesn't do any of this curation stuff, which is really weird, is Facebook.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Mark Zuckerberg, but it doesn't exactly have much taste in clothes. Next story.
Cable provider Comcast has announced a new video streaming service, StreamPix. It will be available only to Comcast's existing subscribers for an additional $4.99 per month on top of your pre-existing cable package. You'll get access to TV shows like 30 Rock, Lost, The Office, and selected movies like Ocean's 11, Brokeback Mountain, and Big Lebowski.
That's the end of Netflix.
Major competitors, Netflix and Hulu, both charge $7.99 per month.
Yeah.
Other competitors include Amazon.com and Redbox, of course, which just inked a deal with Verizon. Comcast says the StreamPix, available on the web and certain mobile devices, is designed to offer greater flexibility with packaging and bundling options. So, is this going to help stem the tide of cable subscribers cutting the cord?
Yes. Yes.
And what impact do you think
Yes.
this is going to have on Netflix, Hulu, all this?
I think Netflix has got a serious problem with this because I have also DirecTV, and DirecTV is offering a huge library of movies, some for rental and then some for free. And if I'm paying for DirecTV and I've got that all set up,
right,
and they have a $4.99 service, what am I going to go? Let's create another account with?
Because you want to see the new Arrested Development, which is only going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, actually I do, but I'm going to just download that off Pirate Bay.
But by the way, there's a shift there that's worth noting.
No, that is a good point, though, Liz. I mean, Liz's answer is exactly correct.
That's
why they're doing original content.
But Liz is correct twice. Because the second part of Liz being correct is that Netflix's mix is changing away from movies towards television.
Right.
They actually have got rights to fewer and fewer movies on streaming.
Right. So they're going to cede that business maybe a little bit to these other services.
Not necessarily, because they also just made that deal with the Weinstein Company this week. So The Artist, which is probably going to win Best Picture on Sunday, is going to be on Netflix before it's on HBO.
Is it the Best Picture? You really think it's better than the Hawaiian movie with?
Do I think it's the Best Picture? No, I do not. But do I think it's going to win Best Picture? Yes, I do.
But wait, didn't George Clooney do a movie about Hawaii for Lifetime Television?
The Descendants. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that.
What, I mean, how is The Descendants? I mean,
Tree of Life. How could you not?
Oh, you want to hear a funny story? I'm at a poker game at a celebrity's house on Sunday.
You?
Yes. And somebody brings up the Ides of March. And I go, my God, that movie had so much potential and was so, you know how like sometimes I say things a little hyperbolically. I'm like,
no.
Oh my God, that movie was ridiculous. I mean, it was terrible. Like, you know, it was such potential. And then they made it so simple. Like whoever, like, it went from having all this potential and then it was like so obvious what was going to happen. Oh my God. And then we're supposed to be, and like, Kevin's like, Jason, Kevin Pollak's at the game too. It's not his, Jason. I'm like, yeah, but no, let me finish, Kevin. He's like, Jason. I'm like, Kevin, listen. The movie was for children. It was ridiculous because, like, oh, we don't know that politicians are having sex with the interns. I mean, that was like Monica Lewinsky like 20 years ago. I mean, who? I mean,
it's based on a play.
And then the guy next to me goes, I wrote it. The guy sitting next to me wrote it.
Grant Heslov?
Exactly.
Did you at least have the decency to like blush or
He
cringe?
looks at me like this and he goes, how many films have you made? And then he says to me,
that's hilarious.
And then Kevin goes,
That's what
you know
I
he's
did.
nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
I said, what do I know about films?
Good Night and Good Luck. He wrote that one too, which is great.
That's an awesome film. But I mean, do you think that film, Ides of March, was good? Rated on a scale of 1 to 10. No 8s.
I'm gonna give you like a
The
6,
Edward R.
7.
Murrow Good Night, Good Luck?
Okay.
I'd say a 6 or
With
7.
George
Ides of March,
Clooney?
Liz?
Oh,
Do you see
that's
Ides
terrible.
of March, Liz?
Terrible.
No, I'm addicted to the internet. I don't watch movies.
What about The Artist? Do you see The Artist?
No.
Oh, my
Sorry.
You know there's no talking in it.
The Artist, he told me the day after he saw it how great it
I
was.
saw it in Paris.
He saw it in Paris. I love The Artist.
Before it came out
And
here.
I went to see it alone. I loved it.
I liked it.
But wait, what are the other nominees that you think would be better?
I would give it, out of the current nominees,
Drive?
I would give it to Tree of Life. Drive is not nominated for Best Picture. If it were, it
pick
would be
Drive.
between Tree of Life and Drive. Those are my two favorites.
What do you give? What do you think? You did see it. All right, last story.
Last story. So
Pick a-
I'm thinking this is pronounced NIP, G-N-I-P.
Yep.
NIP is going to provide social media data to businesses as well as social media monitoring tools and software. That's their current business. Now the company is preparing to become the first official vendor of historical Twitter data feeds. And by historical, we mean the previous month's worth of tweets. The rest are going to remain safely in the Twitter vault. COO Chris Moody estimated at least 80% of the company's customers will opt to get historical tweets, which will be included with the company's other existing social media products. They've been working on storing all of Twitter's historical data as a project with the Library of Congress, but even when that's complete, that's not going to be available for corporate use. It's just non-commercial. So how useful do you think the previous month?
It's going to be available at the Library of Congress digitally?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So Twitter has said our most important asset is going to be available and you'll be able to hit that API at the Library of Congress?
No, but I don't know about the API, but they announced a plan like more than a year ago to digitize all these tweets, and I guess it's been pretty hard to figure out based on things like when a tweet is deleted, what happens to it, how do you excise it from the Library of Congress?
Or should it be allowed to be exercised because it was public at one point? That's fascinating because I've always felt like, specifically with Twitter, that's our content, and I feel like you should be able to check a box and say, make this Creative Commons, and my tweets are available to everybody.
Yeah, you probably should. I don't know, though. I don't think Twitter thinks this is its most valuable asset at all. I think they think the real-time stuff is more valuable. I mean, they don't even expose old tweets at this point.
I think that's a technological debt issue. They just haven't gotten to the point where they have enough time to keep up with the growth and the debt. But if you could go through and look historically at every tweet about Jeremy Lin and like there's all these kind of interesting ideas that you just can't do.
It feels like people are starting to discover, now social media has been around long enough that people have discovered social media nostalgia, like Facebook timeline, and there's Time Hop, which I signed on to, which is a lot of fun, where every day they email you your tweets from 1 year ago that day.
Oh, Time Hop?
Time Hop, it's called.
Oh, that's
it's awesome.
It's really fun, and I tend to, I can amaze people online because I'll ping them and be like, hey, this was 1 year ago today you said this, or something.
Ah, neat. Okay, hey, this was an amazing. What does anybody think anything about Twitter and the archive and the Library of Congress? Anybody care? No.
You know what it
feels like? What does everyone
you know what it feels like? It feels like
what do you feel like?
passing a law on New Year's Eve.
It feels like
under the wire with that
passing. He's contractually obligated to have one every 3 episodes, or he doesn't get paid.
It's not just like a security video.
No.
It's there, and you can roll it back if something happens. You can see the run-up to an event.
It's like passing a law on New Year's Eve, which means nobody's going to notice it.
That's right.
All right, this has been an amazing episode.
No, I mean, it is something the most important ones.
They sneak in under the wire.
They sneak in under the wire so that it's all these things. It could be a big thing that all your tweets are now public. You don't know.
Everybody, see you at the launch conference on March 7th and 8th. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event.
Yet.
Everybody's going to be there. Year 5 of the launch event. This is year 5.
Behavior,
year 5. If you know, you're not supposed to say who's accepted.
Oh, really? Oh.
Anyway, the point is, it's going to be an amazing event. And interestingly, TechCrunch still boycotting the event, even though Mike's not there. I emailed Eric Schoenfeld. I'm like, "Are you going to be bringing people?" And he won't respond to me, and he puts sigh and
maybe he's on an airplane.
Maybe it just has no writers left. So then I CC Tim Armstrong and Ariana Huffington, and I was like, "Is TechCrunch going to show up or not?" And I just think they don't have any writers left in the Valley. I think they literally have no writers left in the Valley.
Alexia might leave before the conference happens.
She's trying to get herself fired. Anyway, launch event's going to be March 7th and 8th. It's going to be amazing. You got to be there. And it's really great. Like last year, because of the fight with Mike, everybody didn't know who to take sides with. And now it's just like, well, there's only one conference left where people launch stuff. And we basically lived long enough to see our enemies float down the river dead.
That's
something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, the event's going to be amazing. Be there. And thank you, Liz Gaines. Everybody read All Things D. It is the most well-written, best technology publication with the least amount of conflicts in the space.
So you're going to leak your stuff to me from now on, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to leak everything to you.
I gave her my exclusive.
What was yours?
On Squill. She broke it.
Oh, yeah. Everybody email Liz at All Things D if you have an exclusive. Is that right?
Yep, that's my email.
Liz at All Things D if you've got an exclusive, and her mobile phone number is 415. But she's at Liz Gaines, Gannes. Awesome. Thanks for being on the program. Peter Horan, everybody follow at Peter C. Horan. And if you are a startup and you're looking for an amazing advisor, he's your guy. He's been a great advisor to me with Mahalo. He gives me great perspective on things. And hey, what a Rolodex that guy's got.
And a hell of a doodler, I got to say.
Yeah, look at that doodling.
Look at that.
Great doodling. Great doodling. Hey, Lon Harris, ranker.com, where your dreams will come true. Tyler Crowley of squeal.com, about to sign a huge client and a big investor. If you want to get in on the angel round, Too late.
Don't say anything too loud. Liz is listening.
Too late.
We don't need this one getting scooped.
The angel round. That's all I'm saying. Thank you at MailChimp, and thank you at Sourcebits. You guys are amazing. You make beautiful product, and that's why I love you. Thank you for sponsoring the program. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.